Hey guys, long time since we've had a chit chat about video games, so let's be frank here. Does the game industry kind of suck now?
Hey, Wayne here. Today we're going to be talking about, does the video game industry suck? Now I don't mean to say that I think the entire industry is horrible and it's a bad thing. Obviously, I'm a fan of video games. I assume if you're watching this video, you're a fan of video games. But we have to admit that there's a lot that's going on in this industry that is just not healthy for the industry or the consumer. And if these things are not fixed, we could be very well looking at a second video game crash. You know, the first one was from 1983, and then this one, I mean, let's just hope it doesn't get that bad. But anyway, I'm going to just talk a little bit about certain things I've been noticing lately in the game industry. Things that really make me feel like the game industry is in more trouble than what it's doing right. So let's get right to that. We'll start with talking about the first three big companies. You know, we have Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony. Now, don't get me wrong, each company has their strengths and weaknesses. Each company does good things, each company does bad things. This video is going to be a little bit more on the negative side. We're going to be talking about the bad things. So, Nintendo. They're too old-fashioned. Their board is basically a lot of older people who seem to still think that they're in the 1990s. They're not jumping onto newer trends in the game industry. They're taking too long to make games that honestly no longer are superior quality. Back in the day, Nintendo was known for having the quality games to go for. You knew that if it had a Nintendo seal of quality on it, or was published by Nintendo, you knew you were going to get a fantastic game. Now, lately that's not really been the case. I mean, look at Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival. That game was horrible. How could anybody think that game was good? Unfortunately, nobody did really think it was good. It's been bombed on Metacritic by both critics and users. Then there's also games like Metroid Federation Force. And to be fair, that game hasn't come out yet, but it really doesn't look like it's going to be that good. They're ignoring what people want. They're not seeming to take any serious steps to improve. What they really need right now is to get more third parties. They need a more robust online. They need a console that is not only powerful enough to run games that people are designing in today's day and age. And I'm not just talking graphics, by the way. I will be getting back to graphics in a second here. They need a console that's powerful enough to run even the gameplay that we're talking about for a lot of these games. If they're going to have underpowered consoles and they're going to just say, oh, well, it's because graphics don't matter. I mean, no, graphics don't matter. There's a lot of really, really good games out there that do not require the best graphics, but the reason they're really good is because they have gameplay, some of them very advanced gameplay, and some of them that advanced gameplay is only possible because they are using powerful hardware. Aside from that, obviously something that is very relevant to me is Nintendo's YouTube footage debacle. I'm not able to post any footage of Nintendo games unless they will claim it, and they will take all the YouTube ad revenue from my Let's Play of the game. Even if you review the game, if you use some of their footage, they will take all your ad revenue. To be fair, most of this is because YouTube's system is broken right now, and we really just need to find a way to share ad revenue, if nothing else. Nintendo has a system, so they take 40%. Or if you partner with them and do a channel that's only Nintendo, they take 30%, they leave you 70%. Which is not good, because a lot of these big networks that allow you to do a lot more things that protect you with copyright and whatever will only take 10%. So that's Nintendo's competition, that's not what they're doing. Finally, I'm very worried about the NX. I've been hearing a lot of things about whether it's going to be portable system, a home system, could be both. That's what I'm thinking. It's probably going to be both. But what I'm most concerned about is if they rush it out and there are not amazing new games for it, then I'm sorry, I don't think Nintendo has a chance of surviving in the console industry for much longer. The problem with the Wii U is that it has too few games. And a lot of the games that are critically acclaimed, honestly, I still felt were watered down, like Super Mario 3D World, but that's a rant for another day. Okay, so people don't think that I'm ragging on Nintendo, because they're certainly not the only company at fault here. We're going to be ragging on every company, don't worry about that. Now, Microsoft. We have the underperforming and underpowered Xbox One. And I know what you fanboys are probably going to say, oh, it's powerful enough, blah, blah, blah. I mean, okay, maybe it is powerful enough, but still, they're acting like it's not a big deal. for it to be less powerful than the PS4, but when their games are coming out for it and one game's running 720p versus 1080p on the PS4, that is literally twice the resolution. And if you're losing that much resolution, then that's a problem. That means the system is practically half the power of the PS4. And it's also in a much bigger console, and so it has much bigger footprint, and it overheats more than the PS4, which is funny. And it has an external power supply. So it just, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just nitpicking, but that's kind of the design there. It just seems, as I've said before, Sony is a hardware company, Microsoft's a software company. So that's why they tend to do a lot of things on the software side, whereas Sony has the best things on the hardware side. But of course, let's not forget that Microsoft tried to destroy game ownership as we know it. I mean, people are going to say, oh, well, it's over, we should not complain about it anymore. They attempted it once, they could attempt it again. In fact, there's a very good chance if Microsoft doesn't attempt it again, some other company's going to, and eventually they're going to win. And that's going to be really, really depressing when that happens. What I mean by that is, of course, they wanted to make it so that every time you bought a new copy, it would be registered to your system, and you would not be able to use that disc on any other system, and therefore it was basically just a glorified installation disc. It was going to be always online. You would have to always have the Kinect attached to it, which kind of makes a Big Brother nightmarish scenario if you think about it. So, I mean, yes, those things are gone now, but Microsoft is still the most dude bro company, if you know what I mean. Dude bro meaning those types of gamers that just play sports games and Call of Duty, and they drink Mountain Dew and eat Doritos, you know, that kind of stereotype. And again, I will also get into the toxic video game community as we know it in a little bit. And, you know, Microsoft has not exactly been really good as far as quality software lately. They fucked up the Master Chief Collection. They almost completely destroyed Rare. I know Rare's coming back with Sea of Thieves, I believe it's called, but it really doesn't look like it's going to capture the heyday of the Rare days. And Halo 5 was launched with less features than any of the other games, and it's already down to $50. Like, the game just came out 2 months ago, and it's already back down. The Master Chief Collection, I believe, is $40 now. Master Chief Collection stayed at $60 a lot longer than Halo 5 did, so I don't know. Now, let's get on to Sony. Now, Sony is doing really well in the game industry right now, which is good because it's basically all they have at the moment. But let's just be honest. Sony has a pathetically tiny number of exclusives compared to what they had for the PS3 at the same time in their previous generation. Even the PS2 was considered to not have a lot of great games until maybe its first year. We're in the third full year of the PlayStation 3, and what do we have other than arguably the best version of Destiny? Until Dawn was pretty good. Uncharted 4 has been delayed again. Little Big Planet 3 was alright. Knack, less said about that, the better. And Killzone Shadowfall was alright. And Infamous Second Son was alright. And again, let's also not get started on the Order 1886. So, yeah, I mean, it just seems like Sony is really lacking. Okay, so they have Bloodborne. That's not like a Sony-made game, but that is probably their best exclusive right now. And they do have the best console version of most of the multiplats. But again, they're just multiplats. So if that's what they're counting on, then I'm a little bit worried about that. And even as the most powerful console, it's still not powerful enough. There's a lot of times where they have to sacrifice frames per second or resolution to get their visionary game to be on the system. And it's like, if you care so much about graphics that you're going to cut the playability of the game, because yes, my friends, 60 frames per second is more playable than 30 frames per second, then I don't know what you're trying to do. It just seems like you care more about graphics, and that's going to be putting more money into your projects than you need to, and I'm also going to be talking about money in just a bit. But finally, on Sony's side, PlayStation Vita was a tragic waste. It really was. It did not need to be as underperforming, underwhelming as it's become. Just like I rag on Nintendo for neglecting their home systems and only focusing on their handheld systems so much, it seems Sony has the opposite problem. It focuses a lot on its home systems and practically neglects the handheld system, which is just ridiculous because they started out pretty strong with the PlayStation Vita. They had an Uncharted title, and they had a couple of fairly decent first-party games, and they just stopped for no reason at all. They stopped. They didn't even give the Vita a chance. So that's for the three companies. Like I said, it just sounds like I'm hating right now, but honestly, I'm saying these things, and I have to be honest about these things because I care about the game industry, and I don't want these things to continue. But, those are just the three major companies. Of course, there's other companies that are doing bad things as well. EA, of course, closing studios left and right, even though it's pretty much EA's fault as the producer for making their studios pull terrible design choices, like Maxis ruining SimCity, Sims 4, or Visceral having Dead Space 3, tons of microtransactions there. Yeah, they basically tried every single bad act in the book when it comes to games. Season passes, DLC, microtransactions. I'll be going more into those in a little bit, though, and just in general, explaining what all of those mean. Activision, of course, they've kind of been acting better lately, but basically they are just Call of Duty, which is clear franchise milking, and pretty much all they do is franchise milk. I think they only released 4 games last year, and that was Call of Duty Black Ops 3, Skylanders Superchargers, if I can recall correctly, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5, which... yeah, and Rock Band 4, I believe. That was pretty much it. It was just continuing their franchises, the ones that are profitable. Well, okay, I think they also had Battlefield Hardlines, but it's like no one even talks about that game anymore. Oh no, that's not Activision, that was EA. So yeah, EA released more games than Activision, but EA was doing a lot crappier with things. But no one is the king of crap quite like the next two companies I'm going to be talking about, Ubisoft and Konami. Oh, good God. Don't even get me started on Konami, so maybe I'll save them for last, actually. So, Ubisoft, what are you doing? You're releasing shitty, buggy games constantly, basically the same game over and over. All your open world games just feel like an Ubisoft the game, and your PC ports are bad. How is it possible to make bad PC ports when the consoles are basically the same architecture as a PC? You would think that would be easy, especially using AMD cards, ATI and stuff. AMD cards, that's what's in the processors. So how come the games work worse with AMD cards compared to NVIDIA cards on consoles? That doesn't make sense. And of course, Ubisoft's also been going crazy with the annual sequels. 2K, they're pretty much a good company, except for Evolve. That was another game that was just totally messed up and broken when it came to concentrating more on microtransactions and just constant downloadable content rather than anything else. Warner Brothers, they were pretty bad this year. Batman Arkham Knight, their port for the PC was fucking atrocious. They pulled it for 4 months, brought it back. It was still fucking atrocious. How can you manage to do that? And then they're like, oh, it's just some irrevocable things, like we can't really fix it. It's like, wow, okay. So we are expecting these companies that have 8-figure budgets, tens of millions of dollars going into their games, and they can't fix a port. I don't know what's up with that. It's like, can't you just get a couple programmers to use the engine, write the game logic from the ground up, and then just import all the models and stuff? You would think 4 months would be enough time to do that. Anyway, so let's finally talk about Konami, and oh my god, maybe I should make it a separate video, but Konami, what a spectacular implosion you were last year. You went from being a promising company to the bane of gaming existence. You went from having some of the best franchises ever, having some amazing promise, to basically pissing off the entire video game industry with boneheaded move after boneheaded move. The first of which, of course, was canceling Silent Hills, then making working conditions absolutely horrible, making Hideo Kojima's life a living hell, cutting content from Metal Gear Solid 5, making all of your franchises into fucking pachinko machines, and lying constantly. Like, they were saying, oh, we're going to make more Silent Hill games. Yeah, a pachinko machine game is not a real Silent Hill game. They said, oh, we're not leaving AAA gaming, even though they have absolutely nothing announced for AAA gaming right now, which is a rarity. We have never seen a company that does not have any AAA games announced for this year or any other time in the future. And of course, barring Hideo Kojima himself from attending his own awards for his own game. That, like, what were they hoping to accomplish by doing something like that? Honestly, I hope they crash and burn at this point and, like, Sony buys the Silent Hill franchise or something, or Hideo Kojima makes a new Silent Hill ish series, because that would be really cool. I liked PT, and it's just too bad that it's gone. And Konami, fuck you, fuck Konami. Like Jim Sterling says, Konami is Konami, and Konami is the worst. And I will go by that. Oh yeah, and before I forget, I actually didn't have in my notes here, but Square Enix, what are you doing? You guys are butchering up all your games, cutting them apart, selling them piece by piece. Because you didn't think that your console games were going to be, I don't know, solvent enough. You didn't think that people were going to enjoy console games. So you just decided you wanted to make tons of multiplayer games. Wait, what's that? Oh yeah, Grand Theft Auto 5, Fallout 4, Undertale, massive successes. And guess what? They're all mostly single player. Grand Theft Auto 5 is the only one that has a multiplayer mode, but most people think of the single player when they think of Grand Theft Auto 5. So, I mean, they're practically different games. Grand Theft Auto Online is like a different game from Grand Theft Auto 5. It's just that you get access to it when you buy Grand Theft Auto 5. So, yeah, you can still make really good, really profitable single-player campaigns, but apparently companies don't know this stuff. So it's like, what are we doing? Why are they spending so much money on things that they don't know anything about? And yeah, they always say, we need to do all of these bad practices in the game industry in order to make our money back. So we have to do pre-order bonuses, we have to do microtransactions, season passes, day one DLC, we have to do broken launches and patch it up later. It's like development costs are going through the roof, but there's no real clear reason or benefit. It's not like I asked for development costs to be $80 million per game. It's kind of ridiculous when you're selling a game at $60 and you have downloadable content, microtransactions, and the game sells 3 million copies and it's still not a success. I don't even know how that makes sense. It's like, are you even budgeting things correctly? Maybe your budget's even higher than that, and if so, why? How are you wasting that much money on a game? I legitimately do not understand how that is possible. Just to, of course, talk about what all that stuff is. Pre-order bonuses, you get stuff only if you pre-order, so it's like you'll miss out unless you pre-order, and of course, then you're almost completely stuck with a game that you are not sure is going to be good, like, for example, Batman Arkham Knight. Microtransactions, that's when they make you pay real money for the little fake currency so you can unlock things. Basically, you're paying them real money so they can send you some computer data that unlocks a fake currency in your game so you can get stuff that it's already in the game that you have on your disc or on your hard drive. That is just friggin' pathetic. Season passes, of course, that's where they want you to plunk down for a little discount on all of their DLC. But again, you're buying that and you're putting faith in the DLC being good. And Batman Arkham Knight, once again, congratulations, you take the award of having some of the fucking worst DLC ever. And then broken launches. Once again, Batman Arkham Knight, Assassin's Creed, and a lot of games just have really bad broken launches. It seems like only Nintendo can launch a game that's not totally fucked up. And then I did mention, of course, that the consoles are underpowered. They're only 3 to 4 times more powerful than the last generation. The last few generations, the consoles were like at least 10 to 20 times as powerful as their previous ones. That's why we're not seeing much of an improvement. I mean, yes, there is going to be a diminishing return for the graphics at this point because they are starting to get really good. But there are plenty of places to improve, such as 4K, 60 frames per second, even 120 frames per second. There are a lot of things that can be improved, and these consoles, these new consoles that just came out 2 years ago, are not powerful enough to do these things. They're struggling to run 1080p while we have affordable 4K screens now. And then, of course, there's the tiny hard drives. 500 gigabytes is not enough for these new systems. Don't get me started with a 32 gigs on the Wii U, but 500 gigs on the PS4 and Xbox One, that's enough to store like half a dozen games. Honestly, like Master Chief Collection came to 80 gigs. So considering that you only get like 380 gigs left, then you'd only be stuck with 300 gigs. I have like 6 disc-based games installed on my Xbox One, then a couple of indies from the Games with Gold, and my system is like full. It has like 20 gigs free. So I'm going to have to get another hard drive, and since they had to go backwards, they couldn't do it as easy as the Xbox 360, I'm going to have to actually get some external drive, which goes by USB, which of course is much slower than having an actual hard drive plugged in. All right, so you would think that would be bad enough, right? Well, let me talk a little bit about the toxic gamer community. You know, the dude bros that I was talking about, the idiot fanboys, the ones who are most likely going to be thumbing this video down because they're going to say, oh, he's just a hater. And they're going to be corporate cocksuckers, and they're going to basically defend a corporation that doesn't care about them just because they feel some brand loyalty. And it's pathetic, people. You really need to be able to open your eyes and just see that, yes, there are some problems with the game industry. I'm a Nintendo fan, but I am going to call Nintendo out on its bullshit when it pulls bullshit. I mean, because I want Nintendo to do well. And if they're not doing well, I'm going to make sure that they know that I'm unsatisfied until they start doing better. Same with all of these companies, you know. There are things that I like about all of these companies, except for Konami. They can go fucking burn in hell for all I care. But right now, a lot of them are not living to their potential. Like, the only company, honestly, that I have a lot of respect for right now is Bethesda. And yeah, I know some people are going to say, oh, Fallout 4 was disappointing. It was a little disappointing, but it was still overall a really good game. Yeah, more about the toxic gaming community. A lot of them are homophobic. You guys might know that I do identify as homosexual, and, you know, I'm sure I'll get some hate comments from people who have no life, who want to say, hey, you faggot, get off the internet. No, you don't tell me what to do. But unfortunately, a lot of the gaming community are people that are, like, still stuck in high school. They haven't matured very much. And that is exactly why this whole Gamergate thing is just really tragic, because there's no easy explanation for it. There's no clear winners. There's losers on both sides. Personally, I am just on the, you know, side of wanting integrity in game journalism, and I couldn't care less about the SJW stuff. But then people are going to say, oh, well, you're with all the misogynists and stuff. And it's like, no, stop telling me what I am. Stop labeling me as things. I know me better than anyone else does. So that's why I never talked about it before, and I'm probably never going to talk about it. So you're probably thinking now, Wayne, you were really, really dismal and down and depressing this entire fucking video. What hope do we have left? Well, I believe in the event of a gaming crash, where you will be stuck with the indies. But not necessarily stuck with, because right now, honestly, the indies are the games that I am most looking forward to. Last year, Undertale, my game of the year. This year, Yooka-Laylee hopefully will come out. If not this year, it'll probably be next year. Let's see, there's Allison Road, that looks absolutely amazing. Could come out this year. Layers of Fear, which I've been playing. I have early access. That will be finished fairly soon. Hopefully, A Hat in Time will be done as well. Gears for Breakfast's game. So most of the games that I'm really, really interested in right now are the indie titles, which is really sad, because it's like the AAA gaming industry, with all of its problems, it barely has anything to offer me anymore. So what do you guys think? Do you think that right now the game industry kind of sucks? Do you think that there are some ways that we could be improving it? Do you think that we've gone too far and that a crash in it is inevitable? Which of the three major companies do you think is screwing up the most? What would you suggest for them to fix their mistakes and whatnot? And what do you think about indie titles? Let me know some good indie titles that you like. And thank you very much for listening to this rant, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.